Hey guys, Waifu Belector, and as you likely know, at the time of this video, we have less than a month to wait for the upcoming, highly anticipated Resident Evil 4 Remake. And before that day comes, I wanted to talk about some of the discourse around the game, or not discourse, but it's not discourse. Either way, I'm gonna talk about it, and that's because it isn't a discussion that's only been had with this game. We've had this discussion a lot, even with the Resident Evil 2 remake, and the discussion is about the validity, merit, and quality of the Resident Evil 4 remake in comparison to the original. Simply put, is the remake better? And listen, we're at a point in time where we've seen many games get remade, so again, this is not the first time we've had a discussion like this, and the same discussion that we've had over and over is now being had again about Resident Evil 4. But the funny thing about it is, the obvious point, that the game isn't even out yet, and yet there's a discourse or a battle on like Twitter and in games media about whether the original or the remake is better. And that's the thing, right? Both sides have already made up their minds. It doesn't matter what the quality of the remake is. If the game is even mildly decent, the people who say newer is always better no matter what will swear up and down that the remake is the superior version, even if it obviously isn't. And conversely, it doesn't matter if the remake turns out to be the most perfect game anyone's ever played. The group who has that nostalgia for the old game have already claimed its superiority, and they will continue to. Because unfortunately, as we all know, the world of games as an art form and entertainment source is not an objective world. But what you may not know is it isn't even a subjective world. These people aren't telling you their opinions, they aren't telling you how they feel or what they think. They're just lying. Lying to try to maintain some pipe dream that everything I hold dear in my memories never depreciates in quality, or lying to try to uphold some idiotic ideal that anything shinier must be better, when none of that is the reality. And so it's up to me to bring to you the objective and actual truth, or at the very least, a real opinion that's based on something, no matter how few people will hear it. So here it is. Video games are a technologically based medium. It's fair to say that technology maintains a pretty steady ascension and only gets better with time. So when you let a large sum of time go past and revisit an old technology with modern advancements, it is more than likely going to be made better. It's not a guarantee, but those are the odds. But now, enter the art portion of the discussion, the entertainment part of the discussion. Now things are less cut and dry. Yes, the technology's better, but this reimagining has to be handled with care and consideration, or you end up with the GTA Definitive Trilogy remasters. And at this time, we haven't played the game yet, Resident Evil 4 Remake that is. But I think everyone would agree that from the outside looking in, it would appear that this remake is being handled with that care and consideration. If you agree that it does look that way, coupled with my observations about technology, the safest assumption would be that yes, this remake will indeed end up being better than the original. But that is still just an assumption, even if it is a likely hypothesis based on the information we have. Stranger things have happened. Maybe Capcom has just done a really good job at hiding how shitty and inferior this version of the game will be. That could be the case. But just for a second, let's assume that the remake will come out and be everything we wanted and be better than the original. Consider this. Gaming is in a much different place than it was 18 years ago when the original Resident Evil 4 came out. Things lined up, the chips fell in place, and by the grace of lucky stars, Resident Evil 4 was able to have the impact that it had. Impact is entirely different from a game being good or not. You can think the original Resident Evil 4 was shit. You can think Halo was shit. You can think Gears of War was shit. Street Fighter 2, shit. Pokemon, shit. You can think that. That's your opinion. But all those games had a heavy and profound impact. I think it's likely that this remake of Resident Evil 4 will be better than the original, but I highly doubt it will mimic the impact of the original. It's because of that impact, it's because gaming history is important, it's because preservation of games is important, that some people don't even like to say or acknowledge that there might even be the possibility of a better version than the original. Because they're afraid that if we all move on to some new, better, fancier version of this thing, then we'll all just forget about the original. And we'll lose the historical value that was that moment, that was that impact. I get it, I understand it, but we don't have to feel like that. So what if a newer, better version comes out? It won't diminish the original thing if you dare utter out loud that the new thing might be better. The original's still there, we can still have a ball with it. But there's nothing wrong with saying, yeah, you know what, that new one is technically better from a more objective standpoint, but I just like the original, because when I play it, I feel that impact again. I know what this game did, I was there for it. I know what it means to me. My point is, two things can be true at the same time. The remake will probably be better than the original, and it also likely won't come close to the same impact. And I'm using words like likely and probably because guess what, guys? The game's not out yet. For all we actually know, we could be walking into a much worse game with far greater impact, no matter how unlikely that seems. But yeah, that's all I've got to say. That's the end of my little rambling think piece. Hope you enjoyed. Send the video around if you feel like it. Send it to your friends, and you could laugh about how stupid and wrong I am. And be sure to share your thoughts in the comments. I really would like to hear what you think about all this. But until next time, I am Waifu Collector. I am just a normal guy. I like hentai and remake old games, preserve the originals. Goodbye.